You are listening to Armchair Healthcare, a podcast on pills, placebos, and policy.
All right, welcome to Armchair Healthcare, the podcast where
more than meets the eye.
Where more than meets the eye. All right, what do we got this week, Max?
Also, the week actually started on a pretty high note. Roche bought Spark, the gene therapy company, for 150% premium.
That's good.
Which is stupendous. It was like $5 billion.
And how does this compare to, and this is what I said to somebody. Somebody asked me, what do you think about the market? Everything was going down. This is like in December or something like this. And they're like, what do you think about this market? And I said, well, people are going to finally be able to afford stuff. We're going to maybe see some M&A that might get people excited again, because we haven't seen that in a little while. And yeah, it turns out I was right. As these prices go down, people might actually get interested in buying a few things.
I don't think this was a value-based buyout. I mean, it was for a pretty hefty premium.
Spark was pretty depressed over the past few years, and you still have to offer a premium if it's trading and it's overvalued.
This is one of those cases where Roche doesn't really care how much of a premium they pay. They don't care about really anything. They're over a $200 billion company. If they spend $5 billion 1 year to buy a gene therapy company, it really doesn't move their needle at all. They just want to look good. They want to look like they're forward thinking, and kind of on the cutting edge of science. I've been in meetings, and I've mentioned this before. I don't know if on the podcast or in real life, but I've been in meetings where large pharma are thinking about bidding for other companies, and they'll say, we're willing to pay a premium to MPV because this is strategic. So they readily admit that they're willing to pay more than a company's worth because they just want to be in that area. It could be just because the CEO feels like it and he wants to be able to say that they're on the cutting edge, or it could be another reason. So anyway, in this case, Roche, I don't think was very valuation sensitive.
Oh, fair. I mean, I've always liked Spark as far as some of these gene therapy companies go.
Well, they got something approved.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
It just doesn't
right?
sell.
It doesn't sell anything, but they've proven that they can do it, which is half the battle, right? Actually getting something that works, the other half is selling it. So that's half the battle.
Well,
that's
but if nobody uses it, then didn't you lose the whole battle? Because if you spent all this money, so you might as well have failed because you're actually not improving anybody's healthcare.
Yes, but I mean, it's all incremental too. I think what I've always liked about Spark is I've always had high hopes for gene therapy in the eye, because it avoids a lot of the problems that gene therapies in other places have to deal with. The eye seems to be just a lot more receptive to gene therapy in a lot of ways, just because of how basically the exposure to neurons that you have there is you don't really have anywhere else, and you can get genes inside neurons and have them be very, very stable in that case. And it's one of the few places too where we really understand how the neural wiring works, unlike the rest of the central nervous system.
Okay.
So I've always liked it. So
yeah, no, look, I like Spark. I mean, I've seen them before, and they're a good management team. I'm really happy for them. They did really well. It's just it's just amazing how pharma really doesn't care when they're throwing around money. They really just want to get something done.
Well, everyone wants to be in that new space. Like we've said before on the podcast, they want to get the next monoclonal antibody company, next Genentech. So, yeah, maybe this will be it. Who knows? Or maybe one of the other, 10 other pretty cool gene therapy companies will.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. So large pharma, and I don't think they were involved with this, but 7 others did have to testify before one of the Senate committees this week.
So do we solve the drug pricing problem, Max?
No. Well, first of all,
Did everyone involved get to pretend like they were doing something about the drug pricing problem?
I don't know. Are they really pretending? I mean, so Senator Charles Grassley from Iowa, who chairs the committee, I mean, he kind of gave instructions to the other committee members, and he's like, okay, you each get 5 minutes. If you are asking a question, please make it very short, and I want the answer to be short. Which basically is saying we're really just here to give like 4-minute, 30-second speeches, and then like maybe ask a question here and there. But that's really it. And so I don't think anyone expected anything to come out of this. It's not like this was part of a hearing related to a drug reform bill. This was a way to make some headlines, look like you're doing something, but there's actually no follow-up from this. Like, what are they going to do? They're
going to be so filled with shame that Congress yelled at them about their high prices that they're going to go back and change their ways.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. And what the pharma was basically arguing was, oh, well, I mean, to make drugs more affordable, we think that the government should pay more of the Medicare Part D premium. So it's like, okay, so you're basically saying we don't want to lower our prices. The government should just have to pay more so that individuals don't have to pay too much out of pocket. So it's like everyone basically points fingers at someone else. Like, no, they should do it. They should do it.
Yeah, they always point at the PBMs too. Like, oh yeah, these guys, they're taking a cut. Can you believe it that these vultures at PBMs are taking a cut?
Like 20, 30, well, they are taking 20 to 30% of the price, I think, as the cut.
Yes, but literally everyone is taking a cut, and so everyone gets their VIC in this whole system, and that's how it works. As long as everyone gets their nut, everyone's happy.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I remember a lot of people seemed to be interested in the hearing at the beginning, but then
they're so boring. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it's just politicians giving speeches. Like every time I see someone talking about, oh, there's going to be a hearing, it's going to be really important. I'm like, no, it's not. It's going to be senators talking at the people at the hearing. I mean, the last time I've seen a meaningful like hearing like this was when, I don't know, there was that steroids in baseball set of hearings. I mean, that was actually
I bet that was fun. I remember that vaguely. I was not really paying so much attention to Senate subcommittee hearings back then, but
yeah, and that was like a very big deal, and it ended up like kind of changing kind of the career trajectories of people in baseball. But of course, my question the whole time was,
which subcommittee was that?
Why the heck was Congress even involving themselves in steroid and baseball?
Because
reasons?
We care about steroids in baseball, and they represent us.
Baseball makes a lot of money.
Baseball does make a lot of money.
Yeah, but what does Congress have to do with baseball? Like, why do they get to abuse their subpoena power by like making all these people spend all their time in front of the hearings answering stupid questions? Like, does Congress even really regulate? I mean, I guess they do regulate baseball, but I mean, they regulate death ball to death, I'm sure.
Yeah, they would make death ball not happen, which is unfair. I'd have to start it in like Thailand or something.
Oh no, the Ukraine.
Or the Ukraine, something like that. It would be Ukraine's biggest spectator sport.
I think you would get a lot of Ukrainians to join.
Okay, then. That sounds great. I think we're off to the races here. I think it's a really good idea. And we have to just get it. We have to get those rights to stream it on pay-per-view, right?
Is pay-per-view... Well, I guess it's still a thing.
It's still a thing,
You still have events on pay-per-view?
Yeah, like boxing and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
I don't really know how you do... Like the bars have to pay a whole bunch of money to show a boxing thing, right?
Yeah. It's still that way.
Yeah, and then you pay to go see the boxing at the bar, yada, yada, yada. It's like everyone gets their nut. But as far as pay-per-view, like the pay-per-view channels on cable, I have no idea. I haven't had cable in like a decade.
On DirecTV, they still have pay-per-view.
Well, no, you can have pay-per-view movies. Like, we have that on Optimum. But, like, I just remember, like, when, the new Woodstock was all pay-per-view.
I thought you were only talking about movies.
No, just like pay-per-view events.
Yeah, like wrestling.
No, movies. Yeah, you can rent like things through your box and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know how wrestling makes any money anymore. If pay-per-view doesn't exist, then how does wrestling exist?
Well, because there's merchandising. I think there are probably like T-shirts and figures. Because I mean what is the average age of a wrestling fan? Like 12.
I think you'd probably be surprised, Max. I bet they're a lot older than you might think.
Yeah, I guess the people who were 12 in like the 80s when Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant were big, you know.
There have been lots of very, very prominent wrestlers since Hulk Hogan, Max. I think you're just dating yourself because that's when you were 12.
Yeah.
What about the heyday of Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Yeah, he was a little after my time.
Or
So I was
how
like,
about The Rock when he was like a wrestler?
Yeah, I knew he was a wrestler. I never watched him. Like, I'm more in the Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Macho Man.
Yeah.
I have no
Snap it
interest
to a
in
Slim
wrestling.
Jim.
Jesus. I do remember who was the lead actor in They Live. He was a wrestler. Roddy Piper, I think. Wasn't that him? Remember They Live? Like they put on like sunglasses and then they could see that like half the people around are aliens.
I didn't. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it was Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Great movie. John Carpenter. Awesome. So moving on, I forgot to mention when we were talking about the drug pricing. So I just couldn't believe. So Chuck Grassley, he's been in office since 1981. He's like 85 years old, and he mispronounced every single pharma CEO's name. I think, like he couldn't pronounce the name Gonzalez. It's like he's not so old that like he didn't watch Speedy Gonzales as a kid. He must know how to pronounce it, but he was acting like it was like some. In some ancient language that no one's ever spoken. Like Gonzalez? I just couldn't believe it.
He probably just didn't read over any of his notes, like what the hell he was doing this morning.
But these are pharma CEOs.
Well, yeah, sure. But these people are in Congress. They did wake up in the morning. He's just like, oh, what the hell am I doing today? Subcommittee meeting? Oh, gosh. Public one? Okay, what am I doing? Pharma CEOs. Okay, see, what are my talking points on this? Who am I seeing? Like, he's like, okay, I'm just going to go. No, but so he didn't walk through their names beforehand, so he's just reading their names for the first time, realizing who the hell he's talking to today when he got there. The same as like when you weren't prepared for a presentation you had to give at school or like at a job or anything else like that, and you sort of wing it when you get there.
Yeah, but it's a name. There's like a common pronunciations of things, and you should be able to like kind of pick that up. I mean, this was the same thing as like if he's like looking at a map of Europe and he's like, "Yug of saliva," it's just that's just not right.
That's happened to you before, Max, when you've looked at a word and you just don't recognize it. You've seen this word so many times, but then you just don't recognize it and you say it all funky.
Okay, that happens maybe occasionally where I'm just permanently mispronouncing a name, like drug names especially, because like what the heck? I mean, but those are isolated cases. He messed up every single person's name. I mean, I kind of think he has a neurodegenerative disease.
I was gonna say he was sleepy, but sure, maybe he's got a neurodegenerative disease.
I mean, he was sort of like that old history teacher in like grade school who would just mispronounce everyone's names because like he's just used to everyone being kind of waspy.
Maybe that could also be it.
So anyway, that was a little bit of humor at the beginning of that meeting.
That was the best part.
That was probably the best part.
That was probably the best part.
Maybe he did it on purpose.
No,
just to be racist.
No.
Yeah, he couldn't do the French names. He couldn't pronounce AbbVie.
Oh, I can't do some French names, man.
How can you not pronounce AbbVie? It's like a major company.
Well,
how did he pronounce
It's kind
AbbVie?
of a stupid name. Can we just talk about this for a second? AbbVie is kind of a stupid name. Abbott, somebody's name. It's just a regular name. Great. And they're like, we're going to spin off this part. What should we name it?
Well, Viva la something. So they're like, well,
maybe
AbbVie.
When did AbbVie spin out? Was Livin' La Vida Loca still hot in the charts when that happened? And they're like, ooh, Aviva sounds like, a little bit nice, a little bit exciting. V.
Look, someone was paid like millions of dollars to come up with that name, right?
Yeah, of course.
Which is crazy.
I'm in the wrong line of work. I could do that. I'll come up with some drug names right now.
Oh no, but like
Selexatuzumab.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds great.
Selexavizumab.
Whoa, that's even better. Niraparanib.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, no, but like the other thing is like these people at naming firms. So one of the people in my town, he has his own naming firm. So he's working on like one of the Call of Duties, that's coming out in the future, and it's like Call of Duty, Dark Planet, like these are like the choices he's thinking about,
All right, well, that's dumb.
So like
I can do this job. I'm already better than this.
You totally can, but it's all about like I think it's all about who you know. Like if you're gonna you gotta get that naming contract. You gotta like schmooze. You gotta be a marketing person. It means you gotta be bubbly. Can you be bubbly?
I'm bubbly.
You're bubbly?
I'm bubbly.
I don't know. Brianna, do you think he's bubbly?
I think he's usually bubbly, actually.
I am. I'm charming.
So you can be at a naming firm.
I could.
Can you imagine all day dealing with marketing people?
I can. All I'm saying is I can make a better name than Taltz. Taltz is the worst named drug in the entire world because it just sounds like salt. Taltz. Hey, ask your doctor about Taltz.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, there's some horrible names out there. Like, isn't there like the Ford Aspire? So I just call it like the Ford Aspire.
How about the Tisagen-Liclocel? Tisagen-Liclocel. Oh, love it.
Oh, yeah.
One of the biggest like developments of like the past decade. And
Oh, yeah, and weren't we talking about NADs the other day? I know people are putting their NADs in their
well,
supplements.
NAD is just the name of something. It's an acronym for something in your body.
Yeah, but well, yeah. Okay, Beavis. Yeah, moving on to so Brianna actually was mentioning something earlier this week in the office about kind of an interesting night that her boyfriend had.
Yeah, so I have a lot of these stories, but this one really bothered me because it kind of involved me, sort of. So in residency, you can work at several different hospitals. Obviously, level 1 trauma centers they just have the most amount of like drama and so forth.
Ooh,
so
drama and trauma.
Yeah, it's very dramatic. It's basically just like Grey's Anatomy and every other show. So basically, it was like 12 o'clock a.m. and my boyfriend was sleeping, which he hadn't slept in a couple days just because that's the way it works. And Nat thinks that doctors don't work hard, but okay, moving on.
Nobody
Nat
ever said
hates
that.
doctors.
Nobody ever said that.
Anyway, so he gets a call and I can hear the call. And basically, he had to go into work because some schmuck decided to jump off a building. But his feet had to be sewn back on because that was like a big deal. But in my
obviously
opinion,
he survived.
he survived and like we need to put his feet back on. And that's called an amputation. Even though you would think that an amputation is actually when you remove the foot, when something comes in.
Should it be a putation?
No.
A putation? Shouldn't it be a putation? Because it's the opposite of an amputation.
Yeah, but they call it amputation. When like a patient comes in and they have to put it back on, they say, oh, we have a foot amputation. We need to put it back on.
That's stupid. They should remove the confusion about that word.
Anyway, I just feel that this is an issue with like our healthcare system. This schmuck decided to do it, and then everything has to come in at midnight to do this operation.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm sure the operation also cost like tens of thousands of dollars.
Definitely. And that was the least of his problems was the foot.
Yeah.
Like, there's way more going on there.
Yes, obviously. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, this guy decides to jump off of a building and somehow land on his feet. Doesn't go well, and then like our healthcare system and healthcare providers have all of this stuff that they now have to do because of someone's bad decision.
That might be true, but what would you suggest we do in this situation?
Well, obviously it has to be fixed, but like, can it wait until like the morning? The answer is probably not, but because like I feel bad for these people working, but it's just a very unfortunate schedule that these people have to work, and therefore they should be compensated for their work.
Yeah, but
so you're trying. This is all just a roundabout way to insult Nat again.
No.
So that means doctors actually earn their pay because they sew idiots' feet back on.
Okay, all I'm gonna say
at any hour of the night.
At any
this
hour
might
of
be
the
true, and maybe they should be treated better. Maybe
I mean,
there should be some standards about how we treat doctors.
They're kind of being treated like slaves because like this guy decides to have this accident, and there they go. They have to immediately stop whatever they're doing, go rush in, and like put this guy's feet back on.
I think we're all on the same page. All I'm saying is that as much as people are complaining about drugs, there's still only 20% of the healthcare spending in this country. The rest is going somewhere.
Well, there's been another study which showed that doctors haven't been raising their prices over the last 10 years. All that price increase is actually from hospitals.
That was the last time that you decided to yell at Nat about the fact that the vast majority of healthcare spending in this country, which is what percentage of the GDP now?
I don't know. It's probably what, like 18, 20%? Like
yeah,
it's been...
yeah. 80% of that, right? So if it's 20%, that's 16% of the entire GDP is going towards medical procedures and doctor's visits and all that.
Yeah, so we can easily cut
It's
that
a
by
lot.
not sewing back people's feet.
Yeah, so that's how you're
they
going to
should have been amputated.
Well, the other way.
But yeah, actually amputated.
See, this is what I was talking
I know,
about.
it's really confusing. But you know what? If you're going to do that, then you don't just take them off. That's
Yes.
it.
Yes. And also people need to realize that like committing suicide in real life is not like committing suicide in the movies.
Do you know
So
how
it's
many
not
people
like-
jump off trains
They're
in front
really
of
stupid.
subways and then it's always a failure? Not always. I don't have the right
Well, yeah,
statistic
I mean, like,
on it. But
yeah, I mean, it's
quite a lot.
It's really hard. You never see that in any TV show and any movie where it just goes wrong. So there's never the person who takes a bunch of pills and then just has liver injury for the rest of their lives, or take 3 weeks to die from acute liver failure, or anything like that. Or the people who jump off a building and all they end up doing is like making themselves crippled for their entire lives. It's always like, oh, they do it and they're done. And so I think that almost like, encourages people, like if they're really miserable, that like this is the easy way out. And no, it's not. A lot of times it just makes things a lot worse. Even if you're, besides like if you're successful, it makes things worse that way. But like if you're unsuccessful, it's much, much worse and you're going to be suffering so much more than you already are.
Very true.
Yeah. So people need to like actually be realistic about this stuff.
Be
Best
realistic about your suicides.
Yeah. Like it's not going to happen. Best thing to do, deal with your problem. Don't listen to our medical advice or anything like that, but probably don't commit suicide. That's probably
Don't
good
commit
advice.
suicide.
I don't think we
It's
can
not
be
a good
sued for
idea.
that one.
Yeah, don't commit suicide, anyone, and go seek medical help, which of course we should provide. Right, we should provide mental health counseling for people that are perhaps might want to kill themselves. Right, because that would prevent your boyfriend having to go in late at night.
yes.
Right, and we can offer these services during the day. Right?
During the day, absolutely.
Right, exactly. We should have more mental health coverage and support in this country. I think we can all agree on that. And it's something I think makes us part of a civil society. All right, next topic.
Oh, nice way to cut it off there. So we can't, argue your Medicare for all.
I don't
Kind of,
know what
yeah.
you're talking about. I just think we should provide more mental health services in this country and quit treating mental health, quit demonizing people that have mental health problems. Because it's very, very common and it leads to a lot of heartache, and in the same way that other sorts of health problems lead to heartache.
Yes. Well,
Just
I
take
mean,
them seriously.
although counseling is not a panacea, not in the slightest. I mean, usually, it does take a while to take effect. Look, I've seen studies comparing counseling to medical therapy for like depression, and usually the counseling does really well, but you have to be really compliant with it. So you actually have to go, you have to actually open up, you have to tell the therapist the truth about things, and that's not necessarily a lot of people who will be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think the biggest hurdle is access to care in that case.
It's also the time.
There is a time commitment.
I mean, that it is a lot of time, and like you're not necessarily going to see a change immediately. I mean, I've never actually heard of anyone who goes to a therapist and immediately like that's a life-changing event.
But maybe that first visit is what leads to the progress that they need to avoid committing suicide.
Definitely, it would be nice if people could have better mental health care. But I mean, we'll see. There unfortunately, it's no miracles in anything. There's no miracle drug that will cure all your ills. There's no miracle therapy. I'm sure there'll be plenty of suicides even without it. People just need to gain perspective, because that's really why people commit suicide. They lose perspective. They think like, oh my God, my life is never going to get any better. I'm 22. It's never going to get any better than this. It's just, and like they don't realize that things change. Things change all the time, So anyway,
Thank you for that, Max.
yeah, moving on. Karyopharm had their panel this week. So they're developing, I can't ever pronounce it right. What is it, like selinexor for multiple myeloma. And I just was looking at the briefing docs. I think they came out last Friday, and I was like wondering, why did they even bother? So they conducted a single-arm trial in combination with a high-dose dexamethasone in kind of refractory multiple myeloma patients. So I think they had between something like 4 and 10 prior therapies.
Mm-hmm.
So a single arm study, they don't really have a very high response rate. It was kind of like in line with what high dose dexamethasone does by itself. And then they just had tremendous adverse events. Like 88.6% of patients had to have their dose lowered because of an adverse event. And then like over, almost 30% discontinued treatment due to an adverse event. So this is a really high number. And then, they've had placebo-controlled trials in other indications like AML, and their survival was actually worse than the control arm. So this is just like a really toxic drug that has meager efficacy.
Yeah, it looks more like an AML trial. This is what we've seen in AML trials forever, rather than a multiple myeloma trial. Yeah. Because that was the big limiting factor in these AML trials, is like everything was so severe that would actually have any sort of impact, histologically on the disease, that it would end up killing people at a similar or higher rate. Yeah. So, this one, my guess would be that, because they still have an ongoing trial. Right?
Yeah, I believe it's...
Yeah, they just thought that maybe they could sneak this one in early and save some money. So it's like, why the hell not? Let's give it a shot. And then, of course, the advisory panel is like, no.
Yeah, wait for that trial.
And yeah, good luck, because this looks like not a lot different than similar doses of dexamethasone alone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the vote was 8-5. So I was actually surprised they got the 5. But I think the argument was just that, look, these patients don't have anything. They were really, really sick. As I mentioned, there was a certain percentage that had 10 prior therapies. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about really refractory patients, end of line. So you don't really know, like, if anything would help them. But maybe it's better if now you don't give them anything, because, their quality of life scores. The company was actually arguing, our drug isn't so bad. The quality of life scores are flat. Well, I don't know.
What is that? What that does? Flat means it's not changing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like, other people are like, well, if you're alive, that's a benefit already. It's like, well, not really, because people want to live well, and usually if you're like shrinking a tumor, that does improve your quality of life, because you don't have all the bad things that happen with like a tumor growing inside you and blocking things here and there and fluid to come in wherever and. It's not happy. So, if you're responding, you generally feel better. So I don't think these patients are responding. And then whatever the response they have is probably swamped by all the adverse events. So what's the point, man? I don't even, like, seriously, why did they really bother?
I like to have a pharma company and like get some money, get paid. Yeah. That's why all these guys do this. Even at great companies, the whole reason why they do it, why they make these decisions, is not out of the goodness of their hearts, because they want to get paid. They want to get paid either by investors investing in their idea or by actually selling drugs. And it's a situation that hopefully ends up saving some lives somewhere along the line. But that's the way it is. Yeah, I guess they just thought they could get lucky, but they got 5 out of 8. It could have gone the other way. I just don't think that the FDA would have ever gone forward with this. No. It's definitely not like a breakthrough in any way, shape, or form.
And the FDA was pretty hostile.
They're not going to approve on a single-arm study like that.
Yeah. So the stock was like $21 back in like August of last year, and now is $4. But it's still a $250 million market cap. So it was probably like a $1 billion company with this like POS drug that, like, I don't know, the risk reward does not look very attractive here.
Yeah, well, hopefully they're donezo.
No, they still have that trial.
I know.
So we'll wait for that trial.
Hopefully they'll
to fail.
Will that they have an idea? Hopefully now people have an idea of what they've got.
Yes. How much time, by the way, are we into?
30 minutes.
Okay. I don't actually have much. So, do we have anything else we want?
I got something cool. Bionic mice.
What?
Get this. So I just read this like 15 minutes ago. So this is hot off the scientific presses. So these guys got there's these nanoparticles. And this is already pretty cool. They got these nanoparticles that they take infrared radiation and they kick it up and make it visible radiation. So these are things that, like, there's like heat, and it basically turns into visible light. Cool, right? They basically glow whenever there's infrared, which is everywhere. or at least a particular wavelength of infrared light. They just glow visible light. So you know what they did? They got some of these and they injected them into the retinas of mice, thereby giving them the ability to see in the dark. That's pretty cool, right?
Except
I mean,
for the part
it's
about,
evil, but it's also pretty cool.
Yeah, injecting into the eye, though, I can't deal with it.
I know you can't deal with the look of it, but people do that all the time.
Yeah, like, laser eye surgery is a big thing.
No, I know, but like I couldn't never. I can't even go to the eye doctor. Like I don't like them putting those drops in my eyes and then shining a light like 1 inch from my face. God forbid they cut something. Oh my God.
Well, think about them. Think about them injecting into your retina at the back of the eye.
Yeah.
But these
like with Lucentis or something.
Yeah, and so but they could do this with these nanoparticles and give anyone the ability to see in the dark.
Well, how well do they see in the dark?
Enough to like complete like the tasks that they set out for them. Like the rats had to differentiate between like different patterns. Like if they knew they would get a snack or something like that. There's some thing that rewarded them for like going towards a triangle, right, versus a circle, and so they would project these things either in visible light or in infrared light. And only the ones with the bionic eyes went towards the infrared ones because they could just see it. So they could differentiate patterns, like a difference between not just like there's something there, but like a circle or a triangle or vertical lines versus horizontal lines. They could actually see.
To be honest, I thought rats could see in the dark because dogs can see in the dark, right? And like rats, dogs can't see in the dark.
Dogs can't see in the dark.
That's a rumor.
Cats do.
No.
Cats do, don't they?
I'm pretty sure dogs can see in the dark.
So both cats and dogs have much more sensitive dark vision, but this is pitch black. This is no light, nothing visible.
So if you look at your dog and it's very dark and you see his eyes and they're like glowing a little bit.
Mm-hmm. They're just better at seeing in the dark than we are. And cats are like proportionally better than dogs. But not like if there's no light, there's no light. They can't see anything.
So you know the only benefit of this technology is for night death ball games.
Oh, I was gonna say super soldiers.
And super soldiers, yeah, that's
you know what I mean? Because that'd be cool.
Yeah,
you can have an infrared laser. You can just see that.
Well, no, but you wouldn't give it to the soldiers. It would be in our animals. We would have like, super wolves with like all these like attachments.
Yeah,
maybe a rocket launcher on their back.
You avoid some of the ethical problems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, do it in animals. Although
do it in animals.
Although I don't know, is there really like, I mean, when you sign up to be a soldier, you're basically giving your life to the country, and they can tell you to like go take that hill and like go on a suicide mission, and you have to, or they'll shoot you.
Well, this is why all those sort of extreme human experiments, like, let's see how deep somebody can live underwater. Let's just pressurize them in a tank, are done like by the military on soldiers because they can just order you to do it.
Well, I'm sure there has to be some volunteer process in there.
No,
like okay, you're volunteering, you, and you. Yeah.
Exactly, and you can like leave the military and get like a dishonorable discharge, but you have to like disobey orders. Military can make you do whatever they want.
Yeah,
right. I remember my my best buddy's dad. To save money, they said, "Oh, we're gonna order you to retire now." He's like, "But I only have 2 more years before I get my pension." Like, nope, you're ordered to retire. Like you have to voluntarily retire, and we're ordering you to do that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that fucked up?
Very.
Yeah.
They can do all sorts of stuff to you. They can be like, we know you're like out of the you're at home and everything else like that, but you have to come back. You got to come back to Iraq.
Well, even worse is when you're not even regular army. You're like in the reserves or National Guard, and they're just like calling you up. Hey, say goodbye to your family. You're going to the desert. Yeah,
and that's why they're like, oh, we're just gonna send you over to the CIA, and they're gonna do some random stuff on you. They're gonna like give you some LSD or whatever.
No.
And
although the flip of the National Guard and reserves thing is, in Vietnam they actually didn't want to disrupt anyone's lives, so they only sent the kids who had no training whatsoever. So like the Green Troops who were just drafted, they didn't want the reserves and the National Guard, which had experienced people. They just wanted to send the Green Soldiers to the jungle to be less disruptive to the older people.
Sure, it's great. No, it's not.
No, it didn't really work out that well.
It's really messed up.
Yeah.
And it's an example of stuff not to do. Lots of things about Vietnam are examples of things not to do.
Yes, although Vietnam is apparently a beautiful place. They went to it in The Bachelor. I think they went to the Nha Trang Valley, which was famous in Apocalypse Now.
Exciting. They're like, ooh, where's Kurtz?
Yeah, I know. I want to go to Da Nang. It looks like it's really nice.
They drink snake wine.
What is snake wine?
It's
The blood of cobras?
It's rice wine where they get something like a cobra and they just stick it in there like a snake. Snake wine.
Oh.
You should Google it. It's exactly what it sounds like. There's like a snake in a bottle. Sometimes a cobra. That's the most expensive snake wine.
So, I don't keep kosher, but every time I see people go to these Far Eastern countries, I feel like there's nothing actually kosher there. And all the food is like stuff that I don't really want to eat.
I would say probably there's not a lot of kosher restaurants.
Not even kosher restaurants, but just the
kosher style.
Yeah, so the animals are ones we can eat. Or, we don't need the rabbi's blessing or anything.
Is cobra wine, is that kosher?
No way, Jose. I don't think. First of all, I don't think we're not allowed to drink anyone's blood.
All right, so there might be some cobra blood in there.
Yeah, so blood is forbidden because it belongs to God.
Okay,
that is actually the rule. And also, I don't believe we are allowed to eat snakes. Things have to basically be cute, fluffy animals.
So could you drink bunny wine?
No, bunnies are not kosher.
I would never eat a bunny.
Why are bunnies not kosher?
Because they have to have split hooves. They have to chew their own cud. There's all these
the hooves and cud. So only animals that
so cows
with a cloven hoof and chew their cud are okay to
so we
eat.
can do cows. I think we can do goats. I'm pretty sure we can do goats and lamb and all that stuff. But there's no venison. We're not allowed. Rabbits, no.
Okay, so goat wine's okay.
Goat wine. Please don't tell me there's a thing called goat wine.
There is now.
Yeah, why don't you start a line of goat wine?
It's just alcoholic milk.
Ew.
Is that like a White Russian?
Sure. See, you say ooh, but White Russian's pretty good, and that's alcoholic milk. Milk
Pretty
in
much.
Malibu is something people drink too. I mean, I don't drink it because that's disgusting, but it is something that people drink.
Yeah, people drink
Every
a lot.
bar has some milk behind it. Irish coffee, boom.
Well, Irish coffee's nice.
Irish coffee's pretty nice.
It's a great way to start the morning. Yeah.
It's a great way to start the morning.
Yeah. I remember there was a chain that was affiliated with was it Cozy, the Cozy sandwiches, and they had
Is this like a Massachusetts thing? I've never heard of a Cozy sandwich.
I've heard of Cozy. They had them in D.C.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this was actually in D.C. and there was actually one around here somewhere too. So they have that special salty bread, which is really good. But anyway, this other chain, it was more of a coffee chain, but they had alcoholic frappuccinos. And those were really good. And you could do s'mores at the table. And it was nice. It was in D.C. in DuPont Circle when I lived there, which was a generation ago. No, but that was really good.
Combining coffee and alcohol is awesome because they potentiate each other. And that's why Four Loko is illegal.
What's Four Loko?
Four Loko was the energy drink that had alcohol in it, ridiculous amounts of alcohol. And the can was also tremendous. I mean, cans of Four Loko used to be just really, really tall and big. And so you used to get some insane amount of caffeine from the energy drink part.
So you're drinking a 40 of Four Loko?
Yeah, it's a 40. I don't know if the can is 40 ounces, but it's pretty damn big.
It's at least 24 ounces.
Exactly.
At least.
So you've seen Four Loko.
I've seen them.
Yeah, my buddy has a couple cans of the original caffeinated alcoholic Four Loko still kicking around in the back of his fridge that he's going to sell at a premium because they've been illegal for about, I don't know, 8 years now or some shit.
They were pretty quickly taken off the market, I think.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing saying that you can't get a Red Bull and mix it with a vodka.
A Red Bull vodka is very common.
It's very common.
Yeah, but it
they
tastes
love those things in Europe. Holy crap.
It tastes like Jolly Ranchers.
Red Bull tastes like a Jolly Rancher and if you got a Jolly Rancher and an aspirin and crush them up and dissolve them into a drink.
Oh, yummy.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have the goat wine.
I'd rather have goat wine. All right. Well, I think that's it for us here at Armchair Healthcare. That's a great way to end it.
Yes, so please don't listen to us for any medical investment advice or drinking advice.
Yes, you'd be a fool. And be sure to listen to us next week and like us on iTunes and that sort of stuff.
Great. Thanks, you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Our theme music is by Hazar.